Hey guys, Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group with another episode of the ISO Show. In today's episode, we're going to talk about, can ISO 9001 reduce school shooting risk? As a parent of four, one of our children, he's a junior in college, and we also have one of our children that's a senior in high school. So this is still a real risk for me and my family, just like many of you out there whose children are in school, or could be our nieces, our nephews, or it's not just the students. It's also the adults working on the school campuses. So we need to be concerned about this risk, whether directly or indirectly. You know, my wife, she's an educator, over almost 30 years of experience working in education, on school campuses, things of this nature. So this is a risk that many of us face. And today we want to talk about, can ISO 9001 help us reduce the risk of school shootings? Let's talk about it. All right, guys, so let's talk about this a little bit. Let's be honest. School shootings, they're nothing new. They've been happening a long time. Here, I just did some research and I pulled up 8 of them, but there's a lot more. But here's 8. Back on July the 26th, 1764. July the 26th. 1764, the Enoch Brown School Massacre during the Pontiac War. 4 Delaware American Indians entered the schoolhouse, now present Greencastle, Pennsylvania, and they shot and killed schoolmaster Enoch Brown and 9 children. 11 people were killed in that incident. Here's another one. On August 1st, 1966, University of Texas tower shooting. 25-year-old engineering student and former U.S. Marine Charles Whitman got onto the clock tower at the University of Texas in Austin, and he killed 18 people. On April the 20th, 1999, Columbine High School Massacre. 18-year-old Eric Harris and 17-year-old Dylan Klebold, students at Columbine High School. They killed 15 people. On April 16th, 2007, Virginia Tech shooting. 23-year-old student Song-Hoo Cho, he killed 33 people, guys. On December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. 20-year-old Adam Lanza, he killed 28 people. 28 people killed in that massacre. On February the 14th, 2018, Parkland High School shooting. Nicholas Cruz, a 19-year-old former student whose behavior led him to be expelled, he killed 17 people. On May 5/24, 2022, Uvalde shooting. 18-year-old Salvador Ramos entered one of the classrooms, shooting the children and the staff in the classroom. 22 people killed. On September the 4th, this year, 2024, 14-year-old student, 14-year-old guys, Colt Gray, entered Appalachian High School, killing 4 people. Now, there is no reason why we should be sending our kids to school or our loved ones going to work on campus and expecting them to be killed like this. Prayer goes out to all of the family members that have lost loved ones to such tragedies. But are these tragedies unnecessary? Is there something that can be done in regards to this? I believe so. Yes, I do believe so. As a quality professional, I don't believe there's any problem that does not have a solution. We just need to get to the root cause of the problem to find the right solution. So how can ISO 9001 help reduce school shooting risks? Well, today I'm just going to talk about some concepts. I'm not going to get into any specific details regarding school administration processes and things of this nature, but you will be able to take these concepts coming right out of ISO 9001 and apply them to specific scenarios, specific situations, specific campuses that are impacted by this. And more importantly, we're trying to think about things where we can be preventative, which is the key in ISO 9001. Preventative, guys, not reactive. It's great. We go through these shootings and then we pray and hold hands and support the loved ones of the lost, but they're still lost unnecessarily. But what are we going to do about it? We need to quit talking about it and we need to start doing something about it. So ISO 9001, one of the principles is called the process approach. Process approach. These school districts, these college campuses need to take more process approach. The Department of Education, the boards, the school districts, administrators need to understand what is process focused. So if we really think about it, the colleges and the school administrators, they really need to take a deep dive into their processes that are allowing this type of result. See, the school shooting is an outcome of process. It's an outcome. So what is going on in the process that is allowing the output of school shootings? So campuses really need to understand process inputs and outputs as it relates to school shootings. What's going on? What is going on in our process that is allowing someone to do this? Once these inputs are identified and these risk factors mitigated, we can control this. We can eliminate and totally reduce the likelihood of school shootings. See, guys, the process approach is focused on plan, do, check, act, and understanding the correlations of inputs and outputs of processes. It's a very important concept. And it applies to anything, or can be applied to anything. The process approach is focused on understanding the interactions and the impacts of processes, right? A lot of organizations, including schools, including possibly your organization, does not really have a good understanding of its processes, the sequence of their processes, and how all of these processes interact with each other. I'm not talking about steps of processes, guys. I'm talking about just the process itself, mapping it out, understanding it. We typically call that a high-level process interaction map that maps out all of the processes in your organization and how they interact with each other. You can kind of think of it like a family tree, right? It's all of these processes. It's not all the detail within the process. It's about the process. What is this process? Okay, process one, process two, and how they interact with each other, all the way down to, let's say, process 100, for example. But the mistake that a lot of organizations make, including schools, is that we start drilling down to individual processes without having a clear understanding of all processes, right? And how they're interacting with each other. So you can focus on a specific process and the steps of that process, but if you don't understand all of the other processes that come before and after that specific process that you're focusing on, you're missing a lot of things and a lot of risks that's actually impacting or causing the specific concern that you're dealing with. In this case, school shootings. So for example, a school may suffer a shooting, but what they typically do, like many organizations, when we have an issue, we drill down to that specific school shooting and investigate it. But that's fine, we need to do that. But we also need to come out of that individual investigation and really understand the big picture of what's going on with our processes, all of our processes, guys, and really understanding the inputs and outputs from one process to another. So if we have process A, which is maybe the beginning, and then we have process Z, right? But we need to go, we can't go to process G. We need to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the way through to process Z, for example, right? And we need to understand how all of these processes are impacting the process that is giving us problems, in this case, school shootings, guys. So just think about it in your school. I mean, this could be at the high level, the district level. This could be at the campus level. Whatever level you would like to start at, it's important that we understand, do this high level mapping. This could, let's say at your campus, this could be over 100 plus processes that you have identified and mapping them out. Maybe on a flow chart, you would be mapping out all of these processes, just the name of the process, and then the other process, the name of it, and then putting the arrows, the inputs and outputs, so we can really understand the high level mapping of the process. Now, once you do that, then you can go down to process A and then break down the steps in process A, right? But you wouldn't just stop at process A and then go all the way to Z, right? So we have to understand process A to Z at a high level. Then we come back to process A and then map out all of the steps in process A. Does that sound like a lot of work? It probably is a lot of work, but it's work that is worth doing, guys, because only then can you really understand where the risks are. Because the risk may not be in the process that you're dealing with. The risk could be in other parent processes that come before the process that you're dealing with. So once you really have that high level understanding, and then for each process, you have a flow of all the steps in the process, only then can you really drill down to the contributing factors dealing with the school shootings. Only then can we do that, guys, right? Now, what do we need to do next after we have this more process approach, this process interaction map, a high-level mapping of all of our processes, and then all of the detail mapping of our individual processes? Well, what do we do next? See, now, once we have that understanding, then we can do what we call risk and opportunity. Assessing risk and opportunities and taking action, right? In ISO 9001, Clause 6, Section 6, it deals with actions to address risk and opportunities See, most organizations, we just hear the word risk and we just kind of flock over there. Let's go tackle these risks. But you hear it says risk and opportunities, right? So when you assess risk, you are also identifying opportunities, or there could just be opportunities in general, preventive. So you're doing these things preventative, guys. But you can only assess your risk once you understand your processes. That's why we talked about that first. So in this section of ISO 9001, section 6, it deals with enhancing desirable effects, right? This is why you want to do risk-based thinking or assessing your risk and opportunities for these reasons, that we want to enhance desirable effects. So what is a desirable effect in this case? No school shootings. That's a desirable effect. We want to do risk assessments and assess our opportunities to prevent and reduce undesired effects. What's undesired effect? School shootings. We want to do these assessments so that we can take actions to address those risks and opportunities, which is very important. A lot of organizations, including these schools that we're talking about, they do a lot of assessments and a lot of analyzing, but they forget to do the action part, taking the actual action to address the risk and opportunities that have been identified. I've mentioned already that these school shootings are just nothing new, guys. Nothing new. Went all the way back to 1764 and 1966, okay? And this is a problem that we're still dealing with in 2024. So evidently, we're not taking the appropriate actions, guys. And then we need to integrate and implement those actions in our day-to-day operations. So it's one thing to keep investigating and all these investigative reports and coming up with these plans and solutions, but if we're not integrating and implementing those action plans into our day-to-day operations, the risk still exists. That is what we need to understand. We don't need another investigative report on school shootings. What we need is real actions that are going to get to the root causes in our processes that are allowing school shootings. And then we need to evaluate the effectiveness of those actions. It's all in ISO 9001, section 6. So what are risks? Risk is defined as the effect of uncertainty. That's what we're dealing with, guys. School shooting is an outcome. It's an effect of uncertainty. The shooting itself is an effect. But what is the uncertainty? So, for example, the effect of uncertainty, it is the school shooting. That's the effect of it, right? But are we dealing with the uncertainty, guys? Are the schools dealing with the uncertainty? See, the school shooting, that's an undesired effect. We've already defined it. Therefore, the shooting is an output. Remember, we talked about in our first segment, inputs and outputs, understanding your processes, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Inputs and outputs of processes. School shooting is an output of something, guys. That's what it is. So we need to understand that. So just think about this. We have a school shooting and we address that specific school shooting, but we don't really look at the larger looming issues in our processes that's allowing that individual school shooting, and more importantly, future school shootings. So it's one thing to deal with an individual case or incident, but what are we doing about preventing that? Okay? So the uncertainty is what we really should be focusing on, not the effect of the uncertainty. See, the effect of uncertainty is the shooting. Why are we not focusing on the uncertainty and not just the effect of it? So just give you a simple example, right? So the uncertainty in this example, let's say you have to be to work for 8 o'clock, all right? And we know that there's a risk of you being late. See, you being late to work is an effect of uncertainty. But what is the uncertainty? The uncertainty is like traffic. The uncertainty could be an accident. See, that's the uncertainty. The effect of traffic, the effect of an accident is you being late for work. So, what do you do to address the uncertainty, the traffic, the accident? Maybe you leave an hour early to accommodate for possible traffic, to accommodate for a possible accident. So even in the event that there was traffic, even in the event that there was an accident, you would still have a good chance of being on time for work because you accommodated for it. See, some of the schools, these schools are dealing with being late for work. They're not focusing on the uncertainty of being late for work. They're just dealing with the school shootings. They're not dealing with the uncertainty, the reasons, the risk in our processes that are enabling and allowing the school shootings. We got to get to that level, guys. Schools must identify and, most importantly, implement actions that are enabling the school shootings, guys. It's creating the environment. See, those process issues that we talked about earlier. See, they create environments. If we don't have a good understanding of our processes, how they're interacting with each other, inputs and outputs, all we're doing is creating environments for risk. That's all we're doing. And ISO 9001 requires that any actions that we take be proportionate to the risk itself or to the impact of the risk, right? So you wanted to be to work for 8. You didn't leave 15 minutes early. You left an hour early so that if there was an accident or traffic, you would still make it to work on time, right? It's no different in the case of school shootings, guys. You know, we have to do more than some of the things that schools are doing now as a response to school shootings or just their standard operating procedures. Things like sign-in sheets, things like metal detectors, things like 1 or 2 police officers on campus, things like surveillance cameras that may or may not be monitored or even working sometimes. More development of action plans and recommendations that are not being implemented. Guys, I'm sure we all would agree that a school shooting of a child or an adult on campus is a 10. If we have to rate it from a 1 to 10, it would be a 10 every time. But why are the solutions in the 1 to 5 category? I haven't seen a 10 solution that's matching the impact of a school shooting, which is a level 10, for example, right? We got to make sure that the action plans, the corrective actions that we put in place are commensurate with the impact of the risk. So the school administrators, we really got to focus on investing time, money, resources in processes, technology, things that are aimed to eliminate and or drastically reduce the likelihood of school shootings. And lastly, ISO 9001 talks about monitoring, measuring, analyzing, evaluating. See, It does no good for us to just understand our processes and put something in place. No, we need to continue to monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate to make sure those things are working, that they're effective. And not that they are effective from a reactive standpoint, but are they effective from a preventive standpoint? So many schools currently do active shooter drills, for example, right? But the drills are focused on what to do in the event of an active shooter. That's very reactive. The control needs to be put in place on eliminating or greatly reducing the likelihood of school shootings. We need to be focusing on running those drills. Like, are those things working? Are those controls that we put in place to eliminate and reduce the risk of school shootings, run those drills more, and you'll have to do less active shooter drills? Guys, we are being very reactive in a situation that we know happens. This is a risk. It's not a new risk. It's something that we know has happened throughout history. So why have we not resolved this issue, implemented real corrective actions to get to the root causes of these issues? Well, some of the reasons are because we're not understanding these processes. We don't have a good understanding of how they're all interacting. We don't have a good understanding of all the inputs and outputs. We haven't done clear and thorough risk assessments of all of our processes and the steps of processes, guys. That's why. And we haven't implemented effective controls that are going to really get to the root cause of these risks. So guys, we have to really get better at understanding that our whole existence is really process oriented. Most problems that we're dealing with, whether it's in education or in your organization, in our organization, is process, it's inputs and outputs. And until we get to that understanding and we really understand how everything is interacting, and we go through and identify the risk at each step that could be causing or allowing for school shootings, and then putting controls in place at those steps. Until we do that, we may unfortunately continue to be dealing with this challenge of school shootings. But we also have an opportunity to make an adjustment and do these things that I'm talking about. And I'm very confident that it will greatly reduce the likelihood and possibly eliminate school shootings, guys. I personally believe that the risk of school shootings can be resolved with some of the core principles that are found in ISO 9001. Let me know what you think about this issue of school shootings. Do you think that we're really trying to solve this issue? Do you think that we should get beyond trying and actually solve it? We've had enough of this praying for people after the school gets shot up. I'm tired of it. I know you are as well. Some of you may have actually been impacted by this. And so I know you're tired of it. So let's challenge our school districts. Let's challenge our educators and administrators and boards and college campuses to really understand their processes and things of this nature, guys. Hey, hit the notification button so that you can be notified when we drop new videos. We're always dropping videos just like this because we're trying to help people, guys. Take an opportunity to subscribe to our channel, share our video, like our video. Oscar Combs here with the ISO 9001 group, helping organizations and people improve their operations and reduce their risk. Talk to you next time now. Bye-bye.